It was a warm Saturday morning, and my disabled daughter, Emily, was sitting on the porch, painting like she always does. She's 16, brilliant, and creative, but she's in a wheelchair due to a spinal condition she's had since birth. Despite everything, she's always smiling, always finding ways to make the best of life. But for HOA Karen, kindness doesn't exist. She marched up my driveway, clutching a thick folder like she was carrying Holy Scripture. She didn't even greet us. She just started barking orders. This neighborhood has rules. Your daughter is breaking them every single day. That wheelchair is an eyesore. That ramp you built ruins the aesthetic of our community. We've voted. She has to go. I froze, not quite believing what I was hearing. Excuse me? Karen adjusted her sunglasses, smug as ever. If she can't conform to HOA standards, then she shouldn't be here. In fact, given the disturbance she causes with that ramp and her constant activities, we've drafted paperwork recommending a 10-year penalty. That means removal from the property and a formal request for a prison sentence. Emily dropped her paintbrush. Prison? She whispered, her voice trembling. I felt something inside me snap. Karen? I said, barely containing my fury. You're standing on my property, harassing my disabled child, and threatening her with prison because she has a wheelchair ramp? Karen smirked. Yes, and I'll call the cops right now to make it official. And she did. She pulled out her phone, dialed 911, and put it on speaker. Yes, hello? This is a resident of Willow Creek Estates. We have a squatter child here, in violation of ADA overreach and HOA property rules. We need her removed immediately and processed for sentencing. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, Dad, am I really going to prison? I knelt beside her and squeezed her hand. Sweetheart, you don't need to be scared. Not of her. Not ever. Because here's the thing. I wasn't just a homeowner. I wasn't just a dad. I was a senior federal judge. And not just any judge. I had jurisdiction over both state and federal courts. I had spent decades interpreting the law, upholding the Constitution, and defending the rights of people just like my daughter. Karen had no idea who she was messing with. The police car rolled up 5 minutes later. 2 officers stepped out. They looked at me, then at Emily, then at Karen, who was practically bouncing with excitement. There! Karen shouted, pointing at Emily. Arrest her. She's a nuisance. She's in violation of HOA laws, and I'm demanding she serve 10 years in prison. One of the officers raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, you want us to arrest a disabled child for sitting on her porch? Yes, Karen barked. That ramp is illegal. That wheelchair is clutter. She's violating community standards. The other officer looked at me. Sir, is this your daughter? Yes, I said calmly. And before this escalates further, you should both know something. I am Judge Michael Harris, South District Court. And this woman is attempting to weaponize law enforcement to target a disabled minor. That's harassment, discrimination under the ADA, and abuse of emergency services. The cops froze. Karen blinked. Why, you're a judge? She stammered. I pulled out my credentials and handed them to the officers. You can verify. In fact, I encourage you to. They did. One of them stepped aside, made a quick call, and came back a minute later with wide eyes. Confirmed. Judge Harris, we apologize for the trouble. Karen, on the other hand, looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. This is a trick. He's faking it. Arrest them both. The officer turned on her. Ma'am, you've just made a false 911 report. That's a felony. And threatening to have a disabled child imprisoned for existing? That's hate-based harassment. You're the one who's in serious trouble here. Karen's face went sheet white. And no, wait. But it was too late. They cuffed her on the spot. Emily looked at me, still shaking. Dad? They really aren't taking me away? I knelt down again and kissed her forehead. No, sweetheart. No one will ever take you away. Not while I'm here. Karen was sputtering as they read her rights. You can't do this. I'm HOA president. I make the rules. I walked up to her as they loaded her into the squad car. Karen, let me make something clear. HOA rules are not the law. The Constitution is the law. Federal statutes are the law. And the law protects my daughter. You may have bullied your neighbors into silence, but you will never bully us. The door slammed shut, and the car drove away. News spread fast. Within 24 hours, the rest of the HOA board voted Karen out as president. Parents in the community were horrified by what she tried to do. Families who'd once been too intimidated by her finally came forward with their own complaints. Karen ended up facing charges for harassment, false emergency reporting, and discrimination under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The case landed in court, and by coincidence, it didn't land in my courtroom. But the judge presiding over it made an example out of her. She was fined heavily, forced to resign from the HOA permanently, and sentenced to probation. She also had to attend sensitivity training and issue a public apology to my daughter. As for Emily, she painted a picture the very next week. A sunrise, bright and unshakable. She signed it, framed it, and gave it to me. On the bottom, she wrote, "For Dad, who makes sure no one can ever dim my light." I hung it in my office at the courthouse, right behind my bench. A daily reminder that justice isn't just about laws. It's about protecting the people who need it most. And thanks to Karen's stunt, the whole neighborhood learned something that day. If you mess with my daughter, you're not just crossing a line, you're standing trial for it.